In late 1958, Vice President Nixon and Soviet leader Khrushchev got in a heated debate about capitalism and communism in the middle of a model kitchen set up for the fair. This led us to what is known as the kitchen debate. It became one of the most famous episodes of the Cold War. They had both agreed to set up exhibitions in each other's nations as part of a new emphasis on cultural exchanges. When Nixon demonstrated some new American color television sets, Khrushchev launched into an attack on the so-called Captive Nations Resolution passed by the U.S. Congress just days before. He went against the U.S. technology on display and proclaimed that the Soviet Union would have the same sorts of gadgets within the next few years. Khrushchev and the rest of the Soviet Union consistently interrupted Nixon, and Nixon brought about the threats of using nuclear missiles that would lead to war from the Soviet Union. Khrushchev took this as a threat and said there would be very bad consequences. There was no clear winner, but the kitchen debate was front-page news in the United States the next day.
A major cause of tension between the U.S. and the USSR was that they did not trust one another at all. They both built up their armies very strong. MAD, or mutually assured destruction, was a doctrine that seemed to offer only a perpetual threat of war.
During the Cold War between the U.S. and the USSR, they began spying on one another, which rose tensions between the two massive world powers. They used methods such as the U-2 spy plane and by infiltrating each other's governments using espionage. They would send in troops from each other's governments to invade the other. This caused another great scare to erupt in America because people were worried communists invaded their government and invaded their everyday lives.
The dynamics of the Cold War were made up of a few causes and components. One of these components had to do with an incident in which the U.S. was using its new U-2 bomber to spy on the USSR. To their knowledge, the plane was unable to be shot down, but the Russians successfully did and captured the U.S. pilot. This led to a confrontation between Eisenhower and Khrushchev, in which we compromised exchanging one of their spies we had captured for our U.S. pilot back. This was an example of a conversational exchange between these two men. This derailed a summit meeting scheduled between the two leaders later that month.